Hello everyone and welcome back to Overwatch 101. Today we're going to be covering Route 66. You start here in this spawn room, right, which is a quaint little diner with all kinds of cool little like Easter eggs and just neat little nods to other games and other things in the game and things like that. Cool little place to be. And there are three ways to leave the spawn room, alright? And in my opinion, the best way is to go out the right, because they can't really see you too well if you go out the right, and that's if they're defending really close to the payload, which they shouldn't do, and we'll cover that in the defense video. But I think the best way to go is to go out the right. It gives you a nice view of the payload, and it's a very short distance to the payload when you go out the right. And you can go ahead and start attacking. You can go ahead and start moving this payload. Now they might be up there, right? They do like to be up there, or they like to be right here underneath this bridge. Now, when we go over the defense, we'll go over that that's actually not the best place to be. That's just a little too close to spawn, and they're going to get beat over the head constantly by the attacking team, which is us, right? So we're going to move this payload right along this road here, and we have to watch out for dangers in there, right? Have to watch out for dangers over here too, right? It's very close to a dangerous edge, but sneaky flankers like to come and just jump up here and then boom, start attacking you, right? So you have to watch out for there and there. We're going to move this payload. You have to watch out for up there, right? You get some sneaky soldiers and some sneaky reapers up there. Now, right there is pretty much where you're going to see your resistance, right? Now, that's if they're defending appropriately. You're going to see it up there. Most of your low-level games, they're going to be out here, right, trying to defend over here. Now, that's a mistake. So you just wipe them, you just kill them, and then you move the payload. All right. Now, a lot of teams can get stuck right in here at this bend, right, because they're going to be up there just absolutely dogging you, right? So a lot of teams can get stuck right here. It's just really just have to fight it out, right? And your flankers will do the rest. Now, we are going to cover flanking as an entire team a little bit later, right? I just want to go over the basics right now, but that right there is a really nice flanking route for the entire team. You can go up there and around, and it gives you a nice high ground. But as I said, we'll cover that in later videos. As of right now, I just want to cover the basics of what you're going to see on Route 66, the threats that you need to call out, and where you need to be aware of where you're going to get stalled in the road and things like that. Just basics, absolute basics, alright? So we're going to keep moving along through here, okay? And when we get right here, right in front of Big Earls, this is also a really nasty little place where they can hold you really long time, because they'll be up there and they'll just be firing into you. Your best bet is to just maybe come up here, right, and move with your Reinhardt and get a little bit of a high ground. Now, the payload will probably stop if you go too far away from it, but you can do a little bit of damage from it here, maybe get some picks, okay, and then jump down onto the payload in front of it, and you're kind of a little bit further away from just being right here in front of it, right in front of Big Earls, I should say. So, you're going to keep moving forward, right, in front of the payload. Now, I know I say normally be behind the payload, but if you were behind the payload, then you would still be in danger of being attacked. So being in front of the payload is actually pretty nice here, because they're just going to have to jump down to stop you from moving that payload. And right there is where they're going to sit, right, because this forms a decent little choke between the sign and the building. So right there is where you're going to see a lot of resistance. But you do have this nice big health pack right here to help you out. Always be aware of that. Okay, but the enemy will be aware of it as well. So if you see anybody low health going for that, you have to charge in there and meet them and try to keep them from having it. There's also a nice big health pack behind you in this tunnel here. Alright, so you're going to see a lot of resistance up there, and then once you start getting over here, they're going to jump down and try to attack you here in this choke point. You just have to fight it out. You just have to keep moving. Alright, and you're going to see a lot of resistance up there sometimes as well, especially if you get kills early on. They're going to be coming from right there. That's where most enemy teams come in. So you want to put a lot of damage right up there. Okay, let's move on. Alright, this door will open up when the payload gets to this checkpoint, and we're going to move on. Now, it's going to move through here. Alright, most defenses are going to be back there, right? Most defenses are going to be back there. You've got a nice, juicy health pack right here. It's a nice big one. I love how close it is, and I love that it's also got a lot of cover, right? So you're not going to take too much fire in here. But we're just going to keep moving the payload forward. you're going to see people trying to be cheeky up there, right? This is where they want to be. Okay, there's a nice big health pack right there that you can get, and you've got the cover of being underneath. You just have to keep moving forward. Okay, you always have to be aware of your danger places, right? There are dangerous little areas where bastions can hide and things like that. You always have to be aware of that stuff. But you just keep moving forward, right? Shielding your team. Okay, shielding your team. And if they jump down on you, of course, you just fight it out. You just try to get the team wiped so that you can keep moving forward. Alright, now, when they spawn out, they're always going to be coming from right up there, right? Always. Unless they're youngsters, they're beginners, and they just don't know any better. You're almost always going to see people spawning from right up there. So that's where you want to be putting a lot of your damage and your focus when you've gotten some kills. You want to be looking for them to come through there. Now, when you move around this corner, you have to be aware of right there and up there, right? You can get a lot of flak from flankers right here, and that high ground that they have up there can be really dangerous for you. You also have to be aware of that, which is their old spawn room, right? If you've moved it this far, you can get a lot of little dangerous people that like to hide in there. Okay, this is a dangerous little area to be in, but as I said, you just have to be aggressive and fight it out and keep a watchful and vigilant eye. Just tell your teammates about threats that you see that are more important than the rest of the entire team, right? Bastions, maze that are behind everyone. You know, you just have to tell your team about those threats, all right? Now, when you get right here, they're just going to be flooding out of that spawn area, right? They're just going to be flooding out of there. You just have to keep a watchful eye for the most dangerous threats, and you should be fine, okay? Now, let's move through. And now we're inside. And this is really the hardest part of Route 66 because it's inside, and when you're inside, things change, okay? Moving up this little area here can be pretty difficult, right? It's moving uphill. They've got the high ground. It can be pretty difficult. Now, on defense, we'll cover that it's better to have the high ground in this situation, all right? But we'll talk about that later. As an attacking team, you always want to be moving the payload. However, coming over here to the left and moving up this way can be much more beneficial because you've got this cover here, right? So you're not going to take too much damage if you're coming up through here. Now you can come up through here and start attacking the enemy team, right? No matter where they are, okay? You can start attacking them from here. Hopefully you get some pickoffs, right? And then you feel more comfortable about getting back on the payload and moving it, right? So, once we get up here, then they have this really long corridor or lane to attack us from, right? So you really have to be aware of snipers, right? Who like to be in all these little naughty places over here, just pot-shotting at you, okay? They can be extremely dangerous. And of course, you've got the naughty areas, right? Which are just the flanks that you have to really be aware of. You got a little health pack in here, and I want to show you back there is a big health pack, just in case you really need it, okay? So you just want to move forward, okay? Always calling out threats, always watching, always, almost always, I should say, with the payload. Every now and again, you can leave it to do some flanking. Even as an entire team. There's this little back area here that nobody ever really seems to utilize. You could maybe flank around as an entire team back here and grab this big high ground, right? With this big health pack up here. Maybe. You don't really see too much going on back there. So maybe you can utilize that because it is pretty underutilized. But once we get some pickoffs, once we start taking advantage and winning the battle, we can move forward. Now, you are going to see some naughty stuff in there, right? You're going to see some flankers coming from that way. You are going to see a lot of stuff going on top of the semi, right? Bastions love to be up there. Torbjorns absolutely love to be up there. Snipers love to be up there. That's a big high ground for them, that semi truck. So you do have to be very aware of your threats there. And most lower teams will just be right here in this choke between the semi and between this, whatever this thing is, this kind of shelving unit here. They'll be between there and there, most of your lower level people. And so you just have to kind of fight it out, right? Give them all you've got. Because they don't have the high ground, right? They're not smart enough to take the high ground, so you just fight it out. Just be as aggressive as you can be. Always watching the dangerous areas here, right? People love to hide there, right? A lot of people love to go up there and try to go around behind and do really naughty things. So you do have to keep a watchful eye on this area, like this area right here. You have to say to your team, hey, we've got a Bastion who's going to go behind. Just be aware of that, right? You have to watch that way as well, Make sure they're not trying to get behind that way as well. This can kind of get really difficult to push down here at the very end because they have a lot of ability to just go around, right, and do really nasty things back here. So you just have to be aware of that. Now, at this point, though, it really is just fight it out, duke it out. If you die, you die. You really can't do much at this point except for just push this payload to the very end and win the game. It's all about aggression. It's all about moving forward. And, I mean, occasionally you can take team flanks, but that stuff can be difficult to do, especially if, you know, not everyone is on the same page, right? Not everyone's on the same wavelength. It can be difficult to get people to work together for the entire team to take a flanking route and hopefully get a team wipe and then move the payload a very long way. But we'll cover more about grouping up as a team and taking team flanks and getting team wipes and things like that. We'll cover that in later videos. But I hope you've enjoyed moving the payload on Route 66. It's relatively straightforward, as all the other attack payload maps have been. Just look for threats in those areas and call out threats in those areas. Hope you've enjoyed. This has been Overwatch 101, signing off.